Today, we're diving into something truly fundamental. We're talking about how our bodies turn the food we eat into actual, usable fuel. It's an incredible journey that's happening trillions of times a second inside you, right now, powering everything from your thoughts to your heartbeat. So let's jump in.
It seems like such a basic question, doesn't it? Why do we eat? Why do we bother to breathe? Every single moment of every single day. We just do it. But the real reason why is this fascinating story of microscopic engines and pure chemical genius.
And you might not believe this, but this entire insanely complex system, everything from chewing your lunch to taking a deep breath, it's all happening in service of making one single, incredibly important molecule.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the big picture. Every single living thing, and I mean everything, from a tiny speck of yeast to a blue whale, has to solve the exact same puzzle. How do you take raw stuff, like food, and turn it into the energy you need to, well, live?
For pretty much all life on this planet, that whole epic journey starts with a simple sugar. You've heard of it, glucose. You can just think of glucose as the raw gasoline being delivered to the tiny power plants inside every single one of your cells.
Right, so once that glucose gets inside our cells, it can't just be used as is. No way. It has to be processed first. And this first step in its transformation, wow, it is one of the most ancient and universal chemical reactions in all of biology.
So here's what happens. It all starts in the cytoplasm, which is kind of the jelly-like goo that fills our cells. In there, a 6-carbon glucose molecule is literally split right down the middle. What you're left with are two smaller 3-carbon molecules called pyruvate. This first step, it unlocks just a tiny bit of energy. And now our two brand new pyruvate molecules arrive at a critical fork in the road. They have a choice to make, and what happens next and how much energy we get out of them all comes down to one simple thing. Is there any oxygen around? So there are two completely different paths they can take. If oxygen is present, we get aerobic respiration. This is the big one. It happens inside the cell's powerhouses, the mitochondria, and it releases a ton of energy. But if there's no oxygen, we get anaerobic respiration. This process stays in the cytoplasm and honestly produces way less energy. The leftovers are totally different too.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract thing in a science book. I guarantee you felt this yourself. Ever sprinted really hard and felt that burning sensation in your muscles? Yeah, that's anaerobic respiration. Your muscles are screaming for energy faster than your blood can deliver oxygen, so they switch to this backup plan, and that creates lactic acid. That buildup is the burn.
Okay, so we've seen how glucose gets broken down to release energy, but how does the cell actually capture that energy and put it to work? Well, that brings us back to that one special molecule I mentioned at the very beginning. Let's talk about the cell's energy currency. And here it is. ATP. That stands for adenosine triphosphate. This is the molecule we've been working towards this whole time. All that energy we get from breaking down glucose is used to build these little ATP molecules. The source material gives us a really great way to think about this. Imagine ATP is like a tiny rechargeable battery. The cell uses the energy from glucose to charge up these little ATP batteries. And then that charged battery can be taken anywhere in the cell to power all sorts of different jobs. And what kind of jobs are we talking about? Oh, just everything, literally everything. Contracting your bicep, building a new protein, firing a neuron in your brain so you can have a thought. All of it is paid for with ATP. It's the universal fuel for your entire body. So let's circle back for a second. Remember how aerobic respiration, the really good one that makes tons of ATP, needs oxygen? Well, that single microscopic need has literally shaped the evolution of huge, complex animals. It's the whole reason we have this incredible architecture for breathing. This chart really puts the challenge into perspective. A fish has to breathe much faster than a person. Why? Because the amount of oxygen dissolved in water is tiny compared to how much is in the air. So, animals in the water have to work incredibly hard just to get enough oxygen for their cells. So how did we solve this problem on land? Well, we evolved a pretty amazing system. Our lungs provide this huge, delicate surface area to absorb oxygen, and it's all tucked safely inside our bodies. Then we have a special molecule in our blood called hemoglobin that acts like an oxygen taxi service, grabbing oxygen from the lungs and delivering it to every last cell. We've spent a lot of time on the ingredients, the glucose and oxygen, but what about the exhaust? We know aerobic respiration creates carbon dioxide as a waste product. And believe it or not, there's a super simple, classic experiment that proves you are breathing it out right this second. It's called the lime water test. Normally, lime water is totally clear, but when it comes into contact with carbon dioxide, it has a chemical reaction that makes it look milky or cloudy. So if you just blow through a straw into some lime water, you'll see it change right before your eyes. That's a direct visual confirmation of cellular respiration at work. So, from a simple sugar to a fork in the road to a universal energy battery that powers every single thing you do, this tiny, microscopic process is the engine that drives all life as we know it. It's happening inside you, right now, trillions of times over. So the only question left is, what are you going to use all that power for?